there you go. So start to sit comfortably. Let yourself arrange your legs however you need for your own hips. And if you like sitting on a blanket, by all means do. So be mindful and get yourself adjusted with your legs so that you're able to sit up easily, nice and tall, lengthening up through the top of your head. And then just as your eyes are gently closed, feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And just watch your breath, see where it goes, see what part of your body moves when you inhale and exhale. On your next exhale, let your hands release on out. Fingertips lightly touching the floor here now. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down through the midline to be in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now start to let your torso make those easy little circles, keeping length through the spine. Starting to allow yourself to exhale your way forward and let your inhales bring you back. Doesn't matter how big you make these circles, they can be really small. Let it feel really releasing as you just come into allowing the breath to move you. Going to stop in reverse direction, so when you're ready to come off into the other direction with those circles, just take your time. And the next time that the circles bring you forward, let yourself stay forward. You can put your hands down there to give you support. You can walk your hands farther out, farther forward if it feels better for you to do that. Take your time, release, let your head hang if possible. If that brings too much into your back, then by all means keep your head more in line with your spine. And just let your torso shift a little bit side to side. You can leave your hands centered and just let the torso go a little bit if that feels okay for you. Come on back to center. One more breath here. And then we'll walk ourselves on back up, releasing our hands on out again beside us on the floor. Take a nice inhale here. And on the exhale, let's twist to our left. Bring yourself around. Right hand can come onto your left knee or more to the midline if that's better for you. Just wake up the spine here. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around onto the other direction here. So let yourself again lengthen up. Feel space in the back of your neck and throat. Good. One more inhale. And on your exhale, use your belly to come on back into center. And let's take an inhale here. And when we exhale, draw your tailbone forward. Let your navel come towards your spine and round into your back just a little bit here. And when you inhale, just start with the tailbone reaching down and roll on back up into that long back. And let's switch the cross of our legs if we're cross-legged. You can stretch your legs out before you bring your other leg in front. Obviously, keep your legs long if you need to. And we'll start to circle on this side as well. So letting yourself feel your breath moving you. Exhaling your way forward and inhaling your way back. When you're ready to change direction, stop wherever feels good and let yourself go the other way. And the next time you're forward, again, you might want to put your hands there in front of you to give you support. You may decide it feels really good to fold farther forward. Just be mindful of how your back feels. Try to let yourself release through your neck, your jaw, your face. Just let it be soft. And then we'll walk ourselves on back up, releasing our hands out beside us. And let's inhale our arms straight out from our shoulders. And then bring your hands forward. Turn your palms to face each other here. So your thumbs face up here and your pinkies are down. And then turn your hands over so that the thumbs face down and the pinkies are up. So your palms press away from each other. And then bring one hand on top of the other. Clasp your hands, soften your shoulders down. Let your head tilt, excuse me, just a little bit from one side to the other. And then when you're ready, lower the hands on down. Let yourself look at your hands. If you want to send them up through that hole you've created so that you can rest your forehead right down there on your hands, you can do that. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it. Keep your hands down. Just let your neck release that way. And just breathe. Just feel like your hands there at your forehead, if they're there, just feel like they're just letting you release all across your forehead, right there between your eyebrows. And send your hands now back down and through. Bring them on forward again on your chest. And we're going to switch the hand that's on top. And again, once you clasp, soften your shoulders down. Then let your head tilt just a little bit from side to side. Kind of up to you how far you go with that, right? And coming on back with your head on up, we'll send the hands down. Go ahead and look down at your hands. If you can bring them up and through, do. And releasing again, forehead if possible onto your hands. And just breathe. And then we'll send the hands back down and through. Bring them again on forward of our chest. And then release. Open the arms on out beside you. And let's rise our right arm up, left hand down to the floor, and come over into a little side stretch. So you know how far, how deeply you go up to you. You can just barely bend that left elbow if you want. You can go farther and farther over to the side if that feels good for you. We're going to rise back up and switch our arms out here and come on over to the other side. So breathing into that side, you're stretching, letting your breath come in to expand the left ribs. Release to come on back up. And let's let both arms now inhale all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Good. Let's stretch our legs out and come into just, instead of the legs directly forward, just a little bit of space between them. And send yourself a little bit forward to wake up the backs of the legs. Think about your inner and outer thighs being pinned down towards the ground. And just wake up a little bit there. See if you come a little forward and you have your hands kind of right here towards your shins, if you can just let one shoulder kind of reach across the midline and come like you're reaching it towards that opposite foot a little bit. So easy little opening up through the shoulders. Good. And then when you're ready to come back to center, stay here for a breath. Feel the backs of the legs. Let yourself just open up there. One more breath. And then we'll rise on back up and bring our legs on forward. Kind of shake them out a little bit. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. So you know to use a blanket if you choose, either under your hands or under your knees, or both. If you need a couple of blankets, grab them and get comfortable the way you have your hands so you don't feel like you have stress in your hands or your wrists. Get your pointer fingers about parallel to each other with your hands under your shoulders, spread nice and wide here. And then just start to flow through your back. And, you know, coming through these cat-cows, totally up to you how deeply you come into each of the poses. And also whether you feel like you want to continuously move through or stay in a cat or a cow for a little bit before you flow to the other one. So take your time. Let your body kind of adjust the way it needs. Good, and then finish the one you're on. Come on back to more neutral spine here now. And let's step our left foot forward and come into our first lunge. So you know if you like your blocks, as you lift up that right knee and come on up into lunge, get adjusted, the length of your stance, get that width there so you feel good up into your hips. And then take your time, see if you can, do little pulses. So inhale, let your hips lift up a little bit. When you exhale, let yourself come back into your full lunge. So you're just letting that little bit of movement there really come into warming up your hips, your legs. Inhaling as you lift the hips up a little bit, exhaling when you come back into the full lunge. And then the next time that you come back so that you're into that full bend of the front knee into your lunge, take a breath there, and we're going to switch legs. So however you need to do that, coming to the other side, again, getting yourself established in your lunge there. And then when you're ready, those little pulses, inhaling the hips up a little bit, exhaling, they go lower, that front knee bends a little deeper again. So you just let your breath help you ease your way a little deeper into the hips, into the legs. Good. And then finish off back into that full lunge there. And let's step forward, coming on into standing forward bend. So be really mindful, use whatever you need support-wise, and let yourself walk a little bit in your Uttanasana. Bend a knee at a time. If you like to lift the heel up when you bend the knee, fine. If you'd rather keep your heel on the floor when you bend the knee, that's fine too. Or you can do a little bit of both. You can just adjust a little bit to decide how much you want to move into the feet or how much you'd rather come up into your outer hips up there. Good. And then let yourself release into your forward bend, whether you need to keep your knees quite bent or a little bent. Remember, you still don't want to lock your knees, but support how you need. Elbows above your knees if you need to keep that long back, or hands on the blocks. Coming into watching those breaths. We'll let our hands now come on up to our hips, bend our knees, and rise straight on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts, coming into our mountain pose. So adjust however you need to. Get your feet right underneath you. Let yourself release your arms down for a second. Bring your gaze forward. And see if you can just let your arms hang. So you feel still really nice and open across your chest. But you're feeling the weight of your arms without the weight of the arms drawing your chest inward, right? So you still feel nice and open. Feel the hips over the ankles, shoulders over the hips. Good, and then bend your elbows and bring your hands to meet in front of your heart. Coming into your mountain pose now, feeling your hands gently connected. Let your thumbs come inward towards your breastbone, wherever feels the most comfortable for you. There's no right or wrong place or height for your hands, right? And just enjoy feeling the body align itself. And unfolding our arms on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring us forward from the hips. Bend your knees, coming forward from your hips into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. And we'll step our right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So first dog, do what you need. Walk if you need to. Bend your knees. Wag your tail. Let yourself just adjust. If you need to check out your hands to make sure they're really equal, go right ahead and glance up there at your hands. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other as you reach equally back through your sit bones. And then bend both your knees in your dogs. Keep reaching back through your sitting bones. Keep hugging your elbows towards each other. Good. And then let's head on out towards a plank. So adjusting your way on out to your plank. Really let your belly be strong. And then we're going to come back to down dog again. Keep your feet and your hands right where they are when you come back into your down dog. Now let's do that again. Inhale your way out to plank. Reach your sitting bones down towards your heels. And we're going to go on back into down dog again. Good. We're going to do that one more time. Coming on out to plank. And now see if you can bend your elbows just a little bit in towards each other. And then we'll lower down. So if you want to put your knees down first, do. Elbows right by the ribs. And then from here, lift your head and your chest up a little bit. Let your hands just lightly be on the floor. Coming into a little baby cobra. And then lower your head and your chest back down. Bend both your knees and flex through both your feet. So you still have your hands right there by your chest. Now see if you can just use your feet, really use your muscles to draw your feet more in towards your buttock. And now as you lower the legs down, lift up again into that little cobra. If you want to keep going, you're more than welcome to keep going up. If you want to press into your hands and come up higher, you can. That's totally up to you. And we'll all release on back down from wherever we are. We're going to come back to down dog, so you can come back through your hands and knees or a full or half push-up. And we'll bring our right foot forward to come into lunge here. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Nice, easy breaths. Remember, use support if you need it. If you like to hold your elbows, go right ahead. If you feel like you want to put your hands somewhere else, do. And then just accept those breaths as fully and deeply as you can. Feeling the expansion of the ribs as you inhale. Imagine your head gets even heavier when you exhale. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips. We're going to press into our feet as we rise up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right up through the midline. Clasp your hands up there. Send your pointer finger up. Hug your elbows in towards your head a little bit there. So you're trying to not lift your shoulders up, right? Your shoulders are really trying to release down. And then just bend your elbows and let your hands come as far back behind your head as you can. You know, maybe kind of more to the top of the head, maybe to the middle. Hug your elbows in a little bit. And then see if you can let the elbows reach up, which means your head is pressing into your hands there. So you'll feel your triceps. Try not to tuck your tailbone forward. Let your tailbone reach down towards between your heels. And make sure you're not, locking into your knees, so you can let them bend just a little bit if you'd like. One more breath here. Really press your head into your hands. And then bring your gaze on back forward. Extend the arms back up long overhead. And let's move over to the right with our arms, coming into side stretch here. Let yourself breathe into that side. And you can turn your head if you want to kind of look up towards the ceiling if that feels good for your neck, or you can keep your gaze more directly forward. And then we'll come back up. We're going to go the other side. So reaching over to the left. Again, let your neck be comfortable. Let yourself release there into that right side of the body. And then come on back up again. And one more inhale here. If you'd like to look up at your hands, you can. And then open the arms like wings as you fold forward into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. And we'll step our left foot back this time. We'll come into lunge. Press the feet away from each other. Engage here in your belly. And let's make our way into downward facing dog pose. Place your hands. Make your way back into dog. Hug your elbows towards each other. And then let your head just turn a little bit side to side. Let your neck release there. And then come on back to look at your feet. Walk your dog a little bit now. Bend a knee at a time. Good. And then we'll come on out towards our plank here now. Again, finding that nice strong plank. And we're going to lower down. So again, knees first if you'd like, elbows by the ribs. Let's come onto our forearms into a little sphinx here. Spread the fingers wide, bring your gaze where you're comfortable to be. Let the front of the body easily open here. Good, and then release all the way back down. Hands by the chest. And inhale your way up into either a little cobra where you're not really pressing into your hands, or maybe you like to press into your hands and come on up. Remember, shoulders away from the ears, elbows a little bit bent inward towards your ribs. And we're going to come on back towards pose of a child from here. So letting yourself shift back, and keep your arms overhead if you can. If your hips don't want to go all the way back, of course, don't worry about doing that. Just be mindful. Let yourself breathe. Now, if you're in child's pose and you're comfortable to bend your elbows and put your hands up on your upper back or maybe on the back of your head, you can do that. So you get, again, that stretch through your triceps. But you don't need to do that if it bothers your shoulders. Don't do it. One more breath. And then bring the arms on back overhead. We're going to come back up to all fours, curl our toes under, come on back into down dog. And we'll bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Take your time, breathe. Whatever you like to do with your arms, do it. If you like to hold your elbows, if you like to put your hands up on your back. Just be mindful of feeling the breaths now. Even out a little bit, your inhales and your exhales, so that they feel fairly even in length. And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips, bend our knees, press into our feet, and come on up to standing. And inhale our arms out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. We'll unfold our arms on down beside us, bring our hands behind us and clasp them. Really bend your elbows deeply and squeeze your palms towards each other, all right? So now you're clasping your hands, but your palms are together. And really feel your fingers actually like pressing together too. And your thumbs a little bit, just so you really feel active up into your biceps, into your shoulders. Enjoy a breath there. And then let the palms come apart as the hands slide down a little bit now. Inhaling here, and on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward. And you can decide, stay parallel to the floor, bend your knees as much as you need, or you can keep going and fold over your legs if that's good for you. And again, as you think of releasing your arms off your back, that really all depends on your shoulders. So if your hands can come off your back at all, you can go ahead and release wherever your shoulders let you go. Now feel your feet in the floor. Feel the feet equal in the floor. Make sure you're not rolling to the outsides of your feet. And then we'll release our arms on down. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. And we're going to step the right foot back into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into downward facing dog pose. Let your inhale bring you out to plank. Your exhale will lower you down. And on your inhale, coming into your cobra. And exhaling back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend your knees, rising all the way up to the top with the breath. And on the exhale, we'll fold forward again. Let your inhale lengthen out your spine. And exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Inhale your way on out to plank. And as we exhale, we're going to lower down. And inhale into that cobra. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising on up to the top. And let your exhale carry you forward again. Inhale into that long back. We're going to come into down dog. Take your time as you reach your way back into dog. Once you find your dog, come on out to plank again. Right? Nice strong plank. Bend your elbows a little bit. And then come on back to straighter arms. Let's go back into dog again. So walk your dog a little bit. Take your time. Get yourself situated. Elbows hugging in still. Good. We're going to bring our left foot forward. And we're coming up for warrior two, and you might want your blocks handy. So get yourself situated with your heels lined up and that back heel just where you like it to be. And then from here, float your arms on up. Turn your palms up for a second and really melt your elbows down. Almost like they're coming almost in towards your ribs, really. You're just really letting yourself feel soft in the tops of your shoulders. And then let your hands circle around a little bit. Move through, the hands circling through your wrists. Go the other way. And then let your hands come into fists, loose ones, and circle there. Let your hands circle one way. And then reverse. And let those fists circle the other way. Good. And then start to reach out into your long arms. And then let your right arm come under your left and give yourself a hug here. Whether you want to head towards the eagle, half wrap, or wrap is up to you. More than welcome to stay hugging, you know that. Feel your feet in the floor. Let yourself release there between the shoulder blades on your back. And then as we undo our arms, we're going to come into warrior two arms, unfolding those arms on out, reaching out through the fingertips, feeling the feet equal in the floor here. One more breath. And now we're going to straighten into that front knee here. Left leg is straight now too. And we'll bring our left hand down for triangle. So you know, if you like to use a block, you can grab a block and put it underneath your hand, or you can let your hand be on your leg or down lower towards your ankle. And then just as you come into triangle, feel those thighs lifting up towards the hips. Feel that length out through the top of your head. Now, if possible, see if you can bend your right elbow and put your right hand behind your head. And maybe even letting your hands support your head for you to look up a little bit towards the ceiling. If that feels good. If it doesn't, don't do it. And then from here, we're going to stretch back into that triangle arm, right on up from the shoulder if we can, if our shoulder lets us do that. And then bend that front knee. So you're kind of in a side angle briefly. And then we're going to come on into Warrior Two again, pressing those feet away from each other. And we'll let our hands come down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel, adjust your stance for your wide-legged forward bend. And then come on forward, and if you like your blocks, of course, grab your blocks. If you like blocks underneath your hands, take your time. Go ahead and bend a knee at a time. And once you've done a little bit of that, turn your toes out a little bit and bend a knee at a time too. And you can always do that lifting up to the heel of the foot of the long leg if that feels good. And shift your hips down lower if you want to. Mindful, let yourself, then when you're ready, come on back so that your both knees are bent, your feet are still turned out, but use support under your hands, whether it's the floor or the blocks, right? And then lift both your heels up. So you're really, really feeling the quads. You've got both your heels lifted up. You're turned out a little bit in your hips there. Put your heels on back down. And then come into straighter legs, and let's turn our feet more parallel. So now the toes are facing forward, and you've got your feet more parallel. And walk your hands over to the right. You can shift your blocks, or you can walk your hands all the way over to your foot. If you'd like, you can hold on, right hand on the outside of your ankle there, and your left hand on top of it. If you can get over that far, and just hold yourself over there and breathe. And then we'll come on back to the center. And again, you can just shift your blocks. You don't have to go all the way to your foot. If you want to put your left hand on the outside of your left ankle and the right hand on top, and then kind of just draw yourself towards your leg and stay. And then we'll walk ourselves on back into center and adjust to stay in your pose here. That might mean changing the width of your stance. It might mean grabbing your blocks to use as support for your forearms or for your hands or for your head, right? So just be mindful, take your time. If you get in one position and it just doesn't feel right, then go ahead and keep adjusting until you can find a place where it feels so easy to let go through the upper body, where you can just accept those breaths in and out through your nose. And feel your face starting to soften more and more with each breath. Let go through your jaw. You know if you're comfortable, if you like the Ujjayi breath coming through your throat. You can come into your Ujjayi breath anytime you want in class. Good, so one more nice full breath here. We're going to walk ourselves out enough so we can walk back over to our left foot. Come on back into our lunge. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose from there. See if you can walk to the tops of the feet a couple of times. Press into the top of your toes. Stretch out the feet that way. Let yourself take your time. You might want to stay with one pointed foot for a while before you switch to give your feet time. Good, and then let's come on now to a plank. And come into a little side plank. Whether you do the variation, left knee down, shifting to your left hand, or maybe you want to do a full side plank. Coming into your side plank on your left arm, taking your time, be where you can be. And then we'll come on back. We're going to switch to the other side. So again, you can do that full one where you shift and you come into your full side plank. Or you can put your right knee down and use that foot like a kickstand. You can even lift the left foot off the floor too if you like, if you have that knee down and it feels good. I mean, you can even lift the foot in your full side plank. And then come on back down, coming back into your plank here. Take your time, walk a little bit. And then you decide, do you want to come into any kind of a back bend or not? You're more than welcome to come through into your up dog. You can go down and go through chaturanga. You don't have to do any of those, you know that. You can put your knees down and rest. Good. And then finish off the one you're on so we can meet back in down dog. And we'll bring our right foot forward. And we're coming up for that warrior two on the other side. So again, take your time to get established with the length of your stance where you're comfortable and allow that front knee to bend. Take your time, release your arms, let your elbows really bend. Actually this time, let your tips of your fingers touch the tops of your shoulders and let your elbows really melt down. So when you do that, you feel this like between your ears, down the sides of your neck and the tops of your shoulders, this big, like an aha release, right? Let that feel good. Let yourself be mindful there and easy. Good. And then softly unfold your arms on down beside you. Float them on up and out, and we're going to bring the left arm under the right to come into that either hugging. Stay hugging if you choose. No reason to go any deeper into an eagle or a half eagle arm wrap. It's totally up to you how your shoulders feel. Breathing into that space between the shoulder blades on your back. Good. And now we'll release our arms on down. We're going to float the arms all the way on up and out for warrior two. Looking out over the top of that right hand. Feeling the feet in the floor. Letting yourself feel the tops of the shoulders soften down. Good. And let's come into a straighter right leg and bring our right hand down for triangle. So again, whether you like to use a block, remember that block can be in front of or behind your right leg there. Reaching up if you can. If your shoulder bothers you, you know, put that left hand down on your hip. You don't have to have the arm up at all. Beautiful. Thighs are engaging up towards the hips. Now if you can, bend that left elbow and put your left hand behind your head, do. And then see if you can kind of feel the head coming into your hand as you try to turn to look up a little bit. It just increases the stretch through the left side waist there. Good. We're going to extend back up, if we can, up into that long arm. Maybe you still want to look up towards your hand. That depends on you. One more breath. And now bend that front knee. You're briefly in a side angle there with that right knee bent. And we're going to come on back into warrior two, really pressing those feet away from each other as we come back up. And then we'll let our hands come on down, turn our feet more parallel, adjust your stance if you need, and bring your hands behind you and clasp them. Let yourself for a second draw your hands over to the right, kind of like on top of your right buttock a little bit, and then squeeze your palms towards each other. So you're just letting yourself engage there up into your shoulders and the biceps. And then come back through center with the hands and go over to the left. So your right elbow is really bent and your lower right arm might be all the way folded onto your low back. And squeeze your palms together if you can. And then come on back into center with your hands. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come forward. Now you might want to stay parallel to the floor, just like we did this when we were in Uttanasana. When you came forward into Uttanasana, you might not want to fold over. Or you might feel really good to continue folding over, and your arms might want to come off your back, or they might not. So do what your shoulders let you do. Let yourself be okay in this forward bend so you feel okay in your back. And then slowly releasing your hands on down. And let yourself walk your hands out like you're doing a down dog, almost, right? So you're still really letting yourself sink your heart down a little bit towards the ground. Just like you do in down dog, there's this release through between the shoulder blades on your back. Good. And then walk your hands on back. And if you need to bend knees at a time, of course, to adjust into your stance, do. And then grab what you need for support if you need support to stay in the pose here. So you may decide you want to put your hands or forearms on blocks. You may decide you want to walk your hands back towards between your feet. And some of you might want to hold your ankles. Or walk your hands back behind you too. So, and go to your breath. Just be with your breath. Let it feel so easy. Just to accept the breaths in and out. Allowing the inhales and exhales to even out a little bit. If you can let your exhales be a little bit longer, a couple of counts longer than your inhales, go right ahead, but don't force it. Just allow yourself to feel those breaths, naturally wanting to come closer to the same length. And then from here, we're going to let ourselves walk out enough to walk back over to our right foot to come into lunge. And we'll make our way back to downward facing dog pose. So do what feels good to you. If you feel like doing some vinyasas or kriyas, maybe you don't want to do any kind of back bend. Maybe you just want to come out to plank and back to dog. Maybe you feel like you want to put your knees down and rest in child's pose. Or anything else at all. Let yourself do that. Good. And we're going to meet back in down dog. So if you were doing something on each side, try to get yourself even out there. And from here, we'll bring our left foot forward, and we're coming up for warrior one. And you will want both your blocks handy here. Let yourself come on up. Send that back foot to the angle where you feel good to be. And just from here, let your elbows bend. Let your hands come together to meet in front of your chest here. Coming into your prayer hands very easily. And if you need to adjust a little bit again, adjust this back foot do. Let your gaze be forward. Let yourself feel just that balance, that ease in your warrior one, right? And then clasp your hands together and start to press your palms forward and out in front of your chest. And try to keep, again, not rounding forward here, but you're still drawing your arm bones back into your shoulder sockets, really. And then float your hands on up higher. Now, how high you go is totally up to you and your shoulders. You know, you may go right above your head with your hands, you may not. You may decide you want to keep going back with the arms and let the gaze rise up, too. If you prefer to do that, you can, not necessary. And just enjoy coming into the full breath in your warrior one. Good. One more breath. And then if you don't already have your gaze forward, bring it back. Release your arms on down along beside you here. And now clasp your hands behind you. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, fold forward. Now you may just want to bow your head a little bit. Some of you may want to fold all the way into humble warrior over the inside of your thigh. Some of you may want to release your arms off your back. Totally optional, you know that. Keep the hands down. Don't go so low. Depends on you. One more breath. And then release your hands on down, and we're going to shift to a lunge by releasing that right heel now directly behind our foot. And we're going to add a twist of choice. You can bring your left hand to your left hip. You can come across with your right elbow to your left knee if you'd rather, into twisted prayer. Or you can Keep that right hand down and reach the left hand up. If you choose to reach up into that arm, do it. Take your time. Good. One more breath. And then we'll come on back down with our hand. We're going to come back into down dog from here. So ease your way back. Kind of pick a foot up at a time. Shake your leg out a little bit. And then come on back to your down dog. Spread your fingers wide. Hug your elbows towards each other. And lift your right leg up in the air. Bend the knee and open the hip. So you can think of stacking your right hip on top of your left. You can look under your right arm if you want. Good. And then extend that leg out and lower the foot back to the floor. And we'll do the other side. Left leg bends. That knee opens. Left hip kind of stacks on top of the right. Take your time. Let it feel so good. And then extend the leg long and lower the foot on down. Now if you want to do a vinyasa or kriya, you can. You can come out for your plank. You can move through however you want. Take your time. Rest if you'd rather rest. Good. Let's meet back in down dog. And this time, right foot's going to come forward for that warrior one. So again, take your time, get your stance, both the width and the length of your stance in your warrior one, and the positioning of that back foot. So you feel okay all the way up into your ankle, your knee, your hip. Let your hands come to your heart here for a second. Let yourself feel really easy. Coming into that sense of being very balanced between your feet, even though you're very asymmetrical here. Good. And then clasp your hands together here. Squeeze your palms together for a second. And then start to turn the palms out away from your chest. And let yourself really easily now, make sure you're not rolling forward, kind of draw your upper arm bones back into the shoulder sockets again. And then you can float your hands up higher and higher. It really depends on you. They can stay forward. You know that? You can keep going to above your head. You can keep your gaze coming up with the arms still coming back further if that's okay for you. So feel the shoulders releasing down away from the ears. Enjoy that openness through the front of your left hip here. And feel your feet equal on the floor. One more breath. And then go ahead and bring your gaze back forward. Let your arms release on down out beside you to clasp behind you. Inhale here. And on the exhale, again, you might just want to bow your head a little bit. You might want to come into that humble warrior, folding farther forward over that front inner thigh. And you might want to release your arms off your back. Totally optional, you know that. Be where you can. And then we'll release our arms on down and we're going to come into that lunge. So take your time to let that left heel now release directly behind your foot, setting up for your twist of choice. So you can bring your right hand up to your hip. You can come across with that left elbow to your right knee. Coming into the twist that feels best for you. Letting yourself lengthen through the entire body here. There is that long line out through the crown of your head and back through that inner left heel. And then we're going to bring our hand on back down and we'll come on back into down dog. So last vinyasas or kriyas if you want to do any. If you're like, yeah, no, I'm fine. You can stay in dog, you put your knees down. You can let yourself come into whatever feels good for you. Good. And then finish off the one you're on. And then from here, we're going to come forward. So whether as you bend your knees, you decide you want to jump or walk your way towards the front of your mat, come on forward. And then just one extra little stretch here. You might want blocks under your hands. Bring your left foot a little more to the midline of your body. Cross your right ankle in front of your left so your toes are all facing forward. And you're trying to get your feet fully on the floor. Now that right one, you kind of roll a little to that front one, it's really hard to get totally into the foot, but try. And then it doesn't take long to feel the back leg. It doesn't take long to feel the outside of that back leg all the way up. So be mindful, if your knees need to bend, do. If you like support under your hands, use support. One more breath here. And now uncross. We're just going to switch. So you got to get that right foot a little to the midline so you can cross the left ankle in front. And then again, kind of endeavoring to get your feet as much as you can into the floor. Knees can be bent, remember, or they can be straighter. Just make sure you're not jamming into locking your knees. But it doesn't take long to feel the back leg. And just enjoy and breathe. Good. One more breath. And we are going to uncross and get our feet right underneath us here. And get yourself evened out between your feet. Bring your hands on up to your hips. Press into your feet as you rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down into our mountain pose here in front of our hearts. Take your time, adjust if you need to. Feel the body really wanting to align itself, which it does, because it's just so much easier to stand when you're aligned, right? Good. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us, shake out just a little bit. And we're going to bring our mats into a wall. We have plenty of room. And I forgot to say at the beginning, if you think you're going to want a third block for when we do Dolphin, because if you like to be supported by the wall, you can get a third block and have it by you there so that you can use it. If anybody wants to come up here, they can, but I think you have plenty of room. And either one of those places.
I'll come over by Martha.
Okay.
Mina, Mona. Mina.
By Marta, Mona. Marty. Marty. There you go. That was the other one. So, but first, let's stay up. So, have your blocks. If you decide you want a third one, go ahead and have it handy. But let's do a little tree pose. Let's bring our left hand. Well, actually, let's do our right hand. We're on the other side. Right hand towards the wall. And then as you get your right foot planted, bring your left foot up like you're stepping up step, high step. You can even hold on behind your thigh or to your knee. And see for a second if you can balance there. You can bring your hand off the wall. You know, you can stay holding on to your leg, or if you feel like you want to let go of the leg, do. Just try not to throw your shoulders back, right? So the tendency when you do that knee up front like that is to let your shoulders go back a little bit, keep them over the hips. And then start to open that knee out to the side. You can put your hand on the wall. We're going to come into tree. So whether you want to bring the foot into your inner thigh or down below your knee, into your calf, just play a little bit here with your balance in your tree pose. And let it feel playful. Instead of trying to force yourself into something that you're not feeling so much like doing today, just keep your hand on the wall if you need to. I even like to sometimes keep my hand on the wall and close my eyes so that I can really feel inside, internally, a little bit more what I'm doing. Feeling the foot coming into the leg, the inner leg coming back into the foot. Good. And then when you're ready, let yourself release on down. And we're going to turn around and do the other side. So again, at first, you're posting on that left leg. The right leg comes up in front of you. Again, you can hold if you want behind the thigh. You can hold the knee if you want. You can balance a little bit here if it feels good. You can stretch the left arm up. You can keep your hands at your heart. You can let your arms hang. Doesn't matter what you do. Just play a little bit. And then when you're ready to open that knee out to the side, again, to come into tree, you can bring the foot into the inside, wherever you want to go on that inner leg. Feel the foot gently coming into the leg, the inner leg coming back into your foot. And just play. Right? So if you don't ever want to let go of the wall, don't let go of the wall. Right? If your shoulders don't feel like having your arms up, don't bring them up. Let them stay down. Or sometimes just not using your arms at all in tree pose is kind of fun. Just letting them hang. Good. One more breath. And then let yourself release and come on down. Good. And we are going to come down briefly to our bellies on the floor. Have your blocks and stuff handy here, but let's come down onto our belly at first. And come on into a little Sphinx Pose, letting yourself just release into that bit of a back bend, and if you need to get lower, by all means do. See if you can bend your right knee, and again, if you need to go down to do that, to bend that right knee, do. Because that's a half bow, even if you don't ever reach back with your hand, right? If, of course, I know a lot of you will want to reach back with your right hand to get hold of the ankle or the top of the right foot, you can. If you can press the foot gently into your hand, you feel that great openness across the right side of your chest. And then we're going to release. We're going to switch. So at first, bend the left knee. Flex the foot. Imagine you're pulling the heel in towards your buttocks, like just with your muscles, right? So that you're not using your hand yet. And then, of course, if you decide you want to reach back, you can get hold of, again, the ankle or the top of the foot. You can press the foot gently into your hand. Let yourself feel open across your chest there. Good. And then let yourself release down. Bring your arms down alongside your body. You can float up into a little locust pose here. If that feels like the best thing, do that. If you feel like you want to get both feet and come into your bow pose here, you can. That is totally up to you. And then we're going to release. We're going to come on down. Let's shift back and towards child's pose, but not really all the way. Shift back so your toes touch the wall and you're up on your forearms, but your hips are kind of shifted back enough to release your back, right? But they're up in the air, your hips are. And then we'll do just a little bit of dolphin with our heels up the wall. Then you can decide if you'd rather use those 3 blocks, you can turn around. But if you can come up right from here into your dolphin pose, heels up the wall. You can hug your elbows in, let yourself play a little bit there. If you like to do your legs up above the wall, by all means do. That's totally up to you. And you don't have to wait for me. If you're like, oh, I've just been waiting to do 3 blocks, then you can come down. I'll show the lineup of the blocks. Not so much for people here, because I think you all know, but if anybody's online, that bottom block is to its highest height, and the top 2 are turned to the lowest height so that you can have this space where you can put your head on that bottom block, and then when you lift up, you can press between your shoulder blades into those blocks easily. And you can stay here, your head's not on the ground. It's just like a dolphin pose, only this just supports you and encourages you to release between your shoulder blades. And you can play with that too. You can bring leg up when you're in this. You can bring both legs up into a forearm stand if you want, with the block supporting you. So just play. You know, everybody's different. Let yourself just be mindful. Thinking about releasing between the shoulder blades on your back. No, you don't need to wait for me. When you're ready to rest, you let yourself rest however you need. You may want to rest in child's pose, or you may decide you want to sit up on your heels so that you have your head up above your heart again. So that's up to you. Good. And we're going to slowly make our way around to sitting. And some of you may decide you'd rather sit on a blanket, which is fine because we're going to do a little hip and forward bending work here. So letting your right leg come out and drawing your left leg over, if you can, into that half cow face where you have your knees kind of in line. If that's too much for your hips, instead you can do a figure four, and if even that is too much, you can cross your ankles like we did when we were standing up, right? So be where you can, because we're going to just ease our way forward from here, thinking of almost like your navel is lifting up and over this top knee here as you come forward. So it's not usually a very big movement. Take your time, think about coming forward from your low back. And then reach your left hand down somewhere on the outside, either of your right ankle there, maybe all the way down to your foot, and bring your right hand up to your right hip and draw that right shoulder back. And there you are into a twist, but it's also another big IT band stretch. And one more breath there. And then let yourself come on back, and we're going to make our way on back up and switch legs. So again, it is up to you. Crossing ankle, do the figure four if that's better. Not everybody's thighs want to line up like this, I know that. So you just need to adjust so that when you do come forward, you're feeling the hip, right? But you're also feeling the back of this long leg. As you come forward, again, it's almost like you're thinking of your navel coming up and over that top knee. And there's your back of your leg there. And then as you slide your right hand towards the outside of that foot or that ankle or that leg and bring your left hand to your hip and draw your left shoulder back, now there you are a little bit deeper into the side of your leg. All the way up into your hip, probably. One more breath. And then let yourself slowly come back out and come on back up to stretch your legs out. And you might want to get your blocks for this. You might not, okay? So coming into a little four-footed table, I actually like to sometimes do it up on blocks because I like to bend my elbows and get a little more into triceps. But you don't have to. Your hands can be on the floor. If you can't turn your fingertips to where they face the feet there on your mat, and you need to turn them out the other way to even think about opening up here into lifting your hips up, you can try either way and see how your shoulders feel once you come up. And if you're like, yeah, well, my shoulders don't like either one of those, don't do it if you don't want. If you like to bend your elbows and let yourself come a little bit with the elbows bending, try to not let the hips do the work, right? You're not dropping your hips down and up. You're letting your elbows just bend a little bit. And it doesn't take much, man. You may not want to do it very many times. Good. And then when you're ready, come on back down and really take care of your wrists, whatever you need to do, right? So you're taking care, letting your wrists release however you need, shake it out. And from here, we're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. So it should be easy just to release our way down, bring our knees on into our chest, and let yourself send your feet up for a little happy baby. Rock and roll if you can, side to side. You can keep your knees bent. If you like coming into happy baby and centering yourself there, and then stretching one leg out long at a time. You can do that if that feels good. Good. And then bring your knees on back in and bring your feet onto the floor. Let's cross our right thigh over our left now. So now we're like woman cross-legged, if we can be. And then bring your knees in towards your chest. Flex both your feet. You can use your hands to kind of encourage the knees in towards you. You can hold your shins. If you want to reach down for your feet for a full like cow face here, you can. That's totally up to you. Just let the hips release. Let your back release. And then let your left foot come back down to the floor and stretch your arms out beside you. You still have your right thigh crossed over your left, right? Lift your hips up, shift them to the right 2 or 3 inches and put them down. And now let your knees come over to the left. Now if you want, your foot hits the floor really fast. And you can just support yourself right there so you're not down low into knees down towards the floor. If you like the knees going farther and farther towards the floor in this twist, you can do that. So that you're supported some way so that you don't feel stressed, and you can just turn your head maybe a little to look to the right, and you can just release here and breathe. More breath. And now, once you start to head up from that, go ahead and uncross pretty quickly so you can straighten your spine out. So get your spine back centered. You can always lift your hips up a little bit, get yourself straightened out. And then bring your left thigh on top of your right. And again, bring your knees in towards your chest. Where you hold is up to you. You can hold your knee, you can reach down for your feet, your ankles, or your shins, or you can just let yourself pull the knees in. Let yourself release your hips, your back. And then let your right foot come on back down to the floor, arms out beside you. Lift up your hips, shift them to the left 2 or 3 inches and put them down. And let your knees come over to the right. So again, once those knees start heading over, if you feel like, oh, I really want to put something under that leg so I'm not so low, then you can grab a block or blocks if you need. If turning your head to look a little to the left feels good, you can do that. Just enjoy. Easy breaths there. Letting that, the shoulders feel like they're just released down into the ground. Be really mindful as you head on back, uncross your legs right away, and again, you want to straighten out your spine. Once you do that, just let your body immediately do what you need. Bringing your knees in, letting yourself come into any other movement or pose that you would like to do. If you need to stretch your legs up in the air, go right ahead. Take your time. I'm going to start to walk around so I can get lights. And I can bring stuff. So if anybody likes the idea of a bolster, or if you need a blanket, put underneath your head. Allow yourself to start to settle in. You know, it's fine to wiggle your way into Shavasana. You need to move a little bit to get there, do. And just enjoy feeling the ground supporting you. Accepting your breaths in and out and letting your awareness come to be with those breaths. So even as your mind might wander off, you can bring yourself back. Just keep your focus coming back to your breath. It's as easy as that. Give yourself the gift of just being here and now. Just allowing yourself to have time to benefit from all you just did by letting yourself completely and fully relax.
Very gently, easily let yourself start to become aware of feeling the ground underneath you again, feeling your breaths come in and go out more fully and deeply. And just give yourself time. Let the breath start to bring you back into feeling physical and wanting to move again. Letting your extremities lead you. And whether you need to stretch or bring your knees in, just do what feels good to you to come back to physically moving. You know you're welcome to roll to either your right or your left side. If you're comfortable to do that, you can come into a soft fetal position. You might want to use your arm as a pillow, just letting yourself rest comfortably on your side and giving yourself a little time to adjust there. So that when you do feel okay to rise up, it feels like the next natural thing to do, to actually come back up to getting your head above your heart. But let yourself sit comfortably. If you need to grab anything at all to support you, do. A blanket to sit on or blocks to put underneath your legs, anything at all, just so that you can very easily lengthen up once you're seated comfortably and feel that kind of weightlessness of your head, that lightness of the head up there on top, allowing yourself to come back to your breath. And on your next exhale, bringing your hands gently together there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you